Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Zelda Speedruns and welcome to a new tournament. Welcome to the return of the Minish Cap of the Minish Cap any percent tournaments, and it's this year's version on ZSR. We have the first restream of the tournament for us, round one, and we're doing a double-headed today. So two races on the left side, Seceon going up against Incommunicado, and on the right side, Cakeri going up against DarkySquid. So without further ado, let's switch over to the layout and let's hand it off to our wonderful commentators, to Myth and to Nitros. Take it away.
Hey, how's it going? We got the first restreamed match here on ZSR, and it's a double bill. We had another race that was going to start in an hour, but they brought it back, and we're going to be smashing them both together. We're going to sandwich these matches together and have 4 people on restream, but it's 2 separate matches. It's going to be Seceon versus Inku and Cakeri versus DarkySquid. Now, I think if everyone ready's up, we'll be ready to go, but everyone is not ready. So, yeah, we've had a few matches so far. We've had a couple of matches. We had Martin and it was Command in the first match of the tournament, and then we had my match with PK a day after that. That was earlier this week. Tomorrow there's going to be a lot of matches, but yeah, we got the first round of matches finishing up at the end of this weekend. Not sure what the hold-up is, but we're just waiting for everyone to get ready in the race time room. Okay, people are starting to ready up. Okay, and then we'll be able to send them off hopefully in the next minute. Nitros, how are you doing? Well, I've got Nitros joining me, but they're not here right. Oh,
all right. No, welcome back. Sorry, I'm back now.
Welcome in.
Thank you. Yeah, these are going to be some interesting matchups for sure. I know Seceon and Inku both have quite close times.
Yeah, it's not like they're not the 8-9 seed, they're the 7-10 seed, so again, it's a pretty close matchup. And yeah, so that's definitely that one that's going to be one to be looking out for. Obviously, we've got Darky here, and Darky's number 3 seed. They got to the grand finals in the previous tournament. It'll be quite the upset if they don't win their match today. But Cakeri is no slouch. They've when they ran the game back in 2021, when the routes were changing a lot, they got a very competitive time very quickly. So they aren't someone that you can just assume that you're going to win against.
For sure, and as we are going to get into later on as well, I mean, this particular iteration of the route for any percent is very, very volatile. So practically, like, anything can happen, even if you are perhaps like a few minutes apart in terms of skill level. In just one race, it's still anyone's game, to be honest.
Yeah, we definitely saw that earlier this week in Martin versus Command. Martin was the favourite, and they weren't ahead throughout the entire race. They did manage to fall a little bit behind, but yeah, the Octo Clip is the big trick that is going to change up the order of things a lot. You can lose minutes there. I think everyone's ready to go, so we'll send them off.
I could try lowering my mic a bit, unless the restream can do that somehow.
and we have the timer going. We'll be starting in a few moments. Yeah, everyone's going to be doing a soft reset, or like their resets at the right time, so that file select will be when the time hits 0. Yeah, the beginning of the run is a little bit awkward, just like timing the right time to do the restart, but we just like look at the timer and reset it at the right time, so that yeah, we're roughly clicking file select at the right time. We have to do a reset because of an RNG manipulation to get a rupee at the very beginning of the run. But yeah, we have everyone off and away. Yeah, it's going to take a while before we're going to get into gameplay. There's 2 minutes of cutscene at the beginning, and honestly, for the first 10 minutes, there's going to be barely any gameplay. It's just running between cutscenes and mashing through text boxes. We're not going to see much divergence, but then about almost 6 minutes in, we're going to actually have some interesting gameplay start occurring.
One thing that is a bit fun to note is that I believe 3 out of our 4 runners today are playing on the Switch release of the game, which does tend to save a bit of time throughout the run, since the game runs at a slightly faster frame rate. And we also have Inku playing on MU, so that's going to be like, I mean, it's not a huge difference, but especially like in the first split, where there's not that much that can go wrong or be different, then you might see some time divergence because of that.
Yeah, you can, if you have the cutscenes up side by side, perfectly synced between Switch and emulator, and really any other version, because Switch is special, you do see the difference in the timing at the end of the cutscenes. That's not the only advantage Switch has as well. It does save the game faster whenever we do a save. It's about 1.5 seconds faster.
And everyone did the blue rupee manip successfully, thankfully. So yes, we won't need to see any backups.
Yeah,
I'm very thankful for that.
It's a little bit awkward if you don't get that rupee. We need it. We have a very precise rupee route so that we don't have any wasted rupees for the various things we're going to have to buy later in the run. And if they don't get that 5 rupees, it's very difficult to just luck our way into 5 rupees. But you can just hope that you're gonna find 5 rupees in the first dungeon, and if you don't, then at the end of the first dungeon there is a 20 rupee chest that you can pick up. But yeah, luckily no one is gonna have to do that back up today.
Yeah, it is quite nice that the rupees are kind of laid out in such a way that we never really have to rely on any luck when it comes to that. It's all perfectly routed out and consistent. There's a couple of things that we're gonna manipulate the luck off later in the run, but typically most of that kind of stuff is in your control still, so there's not that much kind of stuff that can really screw you over that you have no control over.
Yeah, in the past there used to be a much more complicated RNG manipulation at the start, where they got 15 rupees, 15 three blue rupees, and they decided to no, sorry, it was 4, but it was 420, because that's the total of blue rupees that we need to get. But there is a cave in Mount Krenel that has 3 blue rupees, so it means that we only need 1 blue rupee at the beginning of the run. And the other convenient thing about that cave is that there are fairies in there, so we can do like bomb boosts and stuff in the section just beforehand to save a little bit of time, and then we'll always be at the beginning of Krenel on full health, having picked up a fairy. And Krenel is when we get there, it is pretty rough. There's lots of enemy RNG, and that's kind of a big part of the early game of the run. The first 30 minutes is very heavy on getting through rooms and not getting hit by enemies. There's a lot of small enemies that will do little bits of damage to us, and we can end up dying. Someone already has died in the first dungeon so far in the tournament. It is...
Oh wow.
It can happen. Obviously, a death is not ideal.
Yeah, in this game, I will say deaths are punished quite a bit, especially in some extreme cases that could be seen if you're like very far into a dungeon, for example. Because we do so many skips and typically don't unlock many like midway points and such, yeah, deaths can be extremely punishing. So hopefully we won't see any that are unintentional.
Yeah, and some of the skips that we do are one-offs. If you activate it, you can't ever do it again on that save. So yeah, like, especially in Palace of Winds, the second to last dungeon, if you die in the boss fight, you have to do the entire dungeon the intended way. Or do an extremely precise backup trick to save like a minute over clearing the entire dungeon the intended way. But yeah, you end up losing about 3 minutes. It's... you don't want that to happen. Alright, so we got our sword and we got some gameplay now. We're going to be rolling down to Minish Woods. Rolling's the primary movement technique for this game. There's you get into a rhythm with how you want to time your rolls. You can't buffer a roll from the previous one. You have to press it after the first roll has ended. But the closer you can time it to that frame and nail it frame perfect, then the faster your movement will be, because you're spending less time walking in between the rolls. But also rolling gives us invulnerability in the middle of it, so we want to be timing our rolls to skip over enemies and not get hit by them. We can't just follow exactly the same line every single time. We're going to have to be like spotting the enemies in the room. They all move due to RNG, so we need to see, like, we know how many enemies there are, roughly where they're going to be, just see their exact position and see if we can roll through them. Obviously, because it's luck-based, it's likely that it can just be completely in the way and you can't really dodge it and you're just going to lose time. So a lot of the time lost in the beginning of the section can just be luck that is extremely difficult to avoid. But there's a huge skill ceiling as well to that, where you're able to do the section flawlessly without taking any damage and not losing time.
Absolutely, yeah. Like reacting to enemy RNG in this game and like doing a proper course of action to not lose time is definitely something that like separates the good runners from the really, really good runners. Like that kind of decision making, since there's so much just small stuff overall that is inconsistent. Like I mentioned earlier, there's not that much major stuff that's like super random, and there's a lot of small stuff that definitely can add up to a lot of time loss if you are not adequate with your reaction.
So there's one trick that is available here that we might see people going for it. Martin got it in a run. If you do a sequence of frame perfect rolls here, you're able to get to this lily pad cycle one cycle earlier. And that saves at about 3.5 seconds. But it is extremely precise, and for the longest time it was thought to be TAS only. And it was only this summer Toads came up with a better setup for it that's more achievable RTA, and they've managed to get it in runs. And yeah, more people are starting to get it in RTA attempts now, so I won't be surprised if we see it done in a race in this tournament. It will be quite the event if it does happen, though.
The T in TAS stands for Toadsuit. Well, we're really close to getting into the first dungeon now, and none of the runners have really made any major mistakes so far. I would say that they are quite close together. At least on my screen, Darky has a slight lead, and I feel like that's kind of to be expected. He's kind of known for having really clean early games overall, thanks to having just really good mechanics. Of course, Darky is one of the most accomplished runners, I would say, in this tournament. He's held many records in this game in the past, and he hasn't been grinding super hard recently with this new route, but yeah, you could definitely see him making it really far in this tournament.
Alright, so we got the first dungeon coming up, Deepwood. There aren't going to be any major tricks here. It's all just going to be down to how good are you at regular 2D Zelda movement. Yeah, this is very much an introductory puzzle, like dungeon. We're just going to be doing regular puzzle solving stuff like pulling and pushing objects. One of the big things to look out for is as we've been talking about, the enemy RNG, the puff stools. In a few later rooms, we're going to be seeing like pestos and slugs. All of these enemies. We know the spawn point for them, and we have an idea of what they're likely to do, but we have to react a lot of the time.
Darky actually backing up there a little bit because he realized he was going a little bit quick in the barrel. Didn't quite make it roll around far enough to get into like the doorway, so just being a bit safe by backing up. But so far, no major mistakes from either of the runners.
Yeah, the barrel is a really awkward thing to control. It doesn't quite like it's not super intuitive, but it's basically how long you spend pushed against the side of it is how much it rotates. But yeah, you just get a feel for it as you run the game a lot. I guess one thing to note is that there are certain sections where there's like a trigger for talking to Eslo, and we need to make sure that we don't roll into it. There's like a pause when you roll into it that happens before the text box opens, and that just doesn't happen if you walk into it, so we just time our rolls to land just before that point.
This water room is actually not super easy to like make it through quickly while having good movement, but thankfully none of the runners actually fell into the water. And this slug room is also one of those we were talking about earlier, where it's a lot about like making a decision when reacting to the enemy placements, whether or not it's like worth it to take a damage boost when you're going through. So you'll see right here that Inku is down to half a heart, which is quite scary. There's definitely a lot of enemies that could kill you at this point, so I would not be surprised if he elects to go for a safe heart drop. In a couple of rooms here, there is a fixed heart drop in one of those pots that he is able to grab if he wants to make sure he doesn't die.
It's pretty generous the amount of parts that you get in this first dungeon, so if you don't elect to get that first pot, it's not like you've locked yourself into that decision for the rest of the dungeon. There's another two that you can get, and one that we actually go past twice as well. So you do have like 4 opportunities to get health before we get to the boss of this dungeon. But yeah, the mini boss of the dungeon, Madapilla, ideally 2 cycles, and looks like everyone is going to be getting a 2 cycle.
No one's getting banned today.
Yeah, you just need to be careful that you don't slash too quickly, because if you slash like frames too fast, then your sword like recoils off of the Madapilla and you go flying across the room, and then it makes it extremely hard to get the 3 cycle at that point.
Yeah, definitely like one of the most frustrating mistakes that you can do there by just being a little bit too early, wanting to save those frames. But especially in a race setting, I think we're gonna see a lot of people just trying to play it safe mainly and not have these like run-ending mistakes pretty much that will just put you at such a big disadvantage where it can be like kind of demoralizing to try and make a comeback.
Yeah, we got the lily pad section here. There is a lot of enemy RNG at the very beginning, which most people manage to avoid. Everyone's reasonably okay on health. Again, Inku taking a lot of damage, but going for those backup hearts just to make it completely safe with 0 chance of dying here. Yeah, lily pad movement is just counting the amount of gust blasts you do in specific directions, and there's like a kind of a rhythm to how quickly you mash the B button to make sure that your gust blasts are coming out at the right time. But the time is very off on like when you stop pressing the button and how many more gust blasts you can do. So you can end up accidentally doing an extra gust blast after the you decided to stop sometimes.
And as we can see here, like I kind of alluded to earlier, Darky has been getting a bit of a lead here in the early game. Again, it's kind of what he is known for, to be super, super fast at optimizing these early parts, but we'll see if there will be any points, because there definitely will be later on where people can start to falter or start to catch up.
Yeah, that was a 15:45 enter green shoe, and yeah, that is an incredible time to be hitting, to be able to hit in a race setting. Most people would be happy just getting under 16 minutes. And there's really not much in those 15 seconds, like in the at this point in the run. Like the game is so optimized in this section that those 15 seconds is an eternity.
Every runner has gotten into the first boss fight now, which is the green shoe, and this is mostly like a pretty simple boss as a runner, but there is a bit of luck to it. How long he tends to stay down when you're trying to just slash away at him, and also a bit of luck whether he jumps or not. And Darky actually gets a really fast pattern there, getting a charge on the last phase. That is not common at all, but it saves a bunch of time, so he's definitely quite happy with this time, I would imagine.
Yeah, with the final cycle, it can either be a 1 jump or the boss decides to jump 5 times in a row. But we can do enough damage to the boss that it will be vulnerable after 4 jumps. And if you're extremely precise on your gust jar timing, you can do it with only 3 jumps.
Alright, everyone has finished the first dungeon, and still, so, you know, this is a Zelda speedrun, but we haven't really been doing that many glitches in the run so far. That's not really gonna change for a while, with just a few exceptions, I guess. There's some small stuff here on our way to the second dungeon, but it's still mostly gonna be just like a mechanics check and like whether you can make the best out of the situations that the enemies decide to give you. So mostly more of the same thing.
Yeah, there is a very much a minor glitch that we're going to do in the next 2 minutes, but it's not super noteworthy and literally saves 1 second. The major glitches are going to come when we hit the next dungeon in about 10 minutes time. Yeah, the only really major notable thing about the route here is that everyone needs to go get the warp point by Link's house. that's going to come into play midway through the run. We're going to do a side quest to go and get the magic boomerang, and we need to talk to Tingle, so that's super useful for fast traveling to this point. And then, yeah, when we go into town, there's going to be a cutscene with the hurdy-gurdy guy, and we gain control, and we're supposed to... It's a tutorial for learning the Kinstone fusion, but we can just skip it by saving and then resetting the game. We save a cutscene. Yeah, this section is all about just like collecting the gear that we're going to need for the rest of the run. So we need a Kinstone bag because there's going to be some Kinstone fusions that are going to let us get items that we need and skip to later dungeons. We need the spin attack. That's going to allow us to clone. That's vital for finishing the game. And also spin strats are useful for quick kills and fights and stuff like that. And then now we're going to be heading over to get the bottle as well. The bottle does have glitches involved with them as well as being just required for going to the next section of the game.
No one getting trolled by the post guy thus far. When going for the guard skip, that saves about a second, assuming you do the menu and everything properly.
Fun fact, there are 2 postmen in town. There's actually 2 different guys running around on different paths.
Hey, that certainly explains how they're able to get around to that point so fast. I always imagined that they just like teleport, to be honest. They're always after you. Now that we're on Mount Cranel as well, you'll see the runners heading into this Rupee and Fairy Cave that we mentioned towards the start of the run. Again, really nice to have a little bit of health refill, since a lot of people took quite some damage earlier on to the Octo Rocks on the way, and there's a lot of enemies on Mount Cranel that can really mess you up, and sometimes there's just very little you can do about it.
Another thing everyone's going to have to be paying attention to is how many bombs they use. They really don't want to be wasting any bombs. That's going to have a knock-on effect throughout the rest of the run. We have a little bit of a tight bomb count. You can afford to lose 1, maybe 2 bombs, but any more than that, and you're going to have to be relying on luck-based bomb drops to get to be able to have enough for later on in the run. And with the amount of enemies that are moving around, a lot of the times we want to be placing and picking up a bomb roughly where there are enemies, and if we're super unlucky, the enemies can just come and hit us and knock the bomb down. Another thing that can lose a lot of time, but people in the tournament won't be too scared about committing this, is that the Mountain Dew, the green water, if we have that equipped, and if we ever press the button to dump that, we have to go all the way back to the beginning of the section to get more of it, because we need it for watering this bean, and that loses a huge amount of time for one of the smallest mistakes you can make.
Ooh, Seceon actually getting some bad luck there, but he recovered it very nicely. Those pesto, or like the flies in that section, are luck-based, where they decide to go. So if they decide to camp either on the left side, Link will pretty much drop the plant, but you do have a window where you can do a really nice and fast backup, where if you pick the plant up again as you get hit again, like, they will hit you, but since you're in the pickup animation, you won't stop picking up the plants, so that gives you pretty much like a free pass to the end again. You are good with your backup, which Seceon was there, so that was really nice.
A pretty safe safety strat as well is if you can throw the bean at them to kill them if they're in the way.
I never thought about that actually. That sounds smart.
Darky has an extremely good pace right now. Like this grip ring time was incredibly fast.
Yeah, and yeah, Darky is, once again, he's super like mechanically good at the game. He's been around for a long time and pretty much always at like top level pretty much past 2 years. So you'll definitely see him just be saving like small time all over the place. But again, if you do mess up like a trick or something like that, that will pretty much negate all of that small time save that you pick up. So there's definitely still plenty of opportunities for Cakeri to catch up in this race if they do arise.
Yeah, we did see Cakeri do a little bit of safety. Before climbing this wall, they went into the cave at the bottom of it and picked up a fairy to heal back up to full health. Having a death on this section of Mount Krenel loses a huge amount of time because you have to climb all the way up from the bottom of the mountain. But if you can manage to get to the dungeon entrance, then you're pretty safe. There's health at the beginning of the dungeon, and most people will probably pick up health at the beginning of that dungeon.
So I actually did not see what quite happened to them, but both Inku and Cakeri both only have 1 bomb remaining, which is kind of unfortunate because it's like the bare minimum you can continue with at least, so that's nice, but it does mean that they will have to elect for a slightly slower strat at the beginning of the next dungeon, since pretty much like the first room there you normally want to use a bomb to blow up a wall, but they will have to resort to using like the bombed enemies in the room instead, which takes a bit longer.
I know almost everyone does the roll lift at the beginning of Cave of Flames, but one person who doesn't is Toads, and if you watch World Record, they just use one of the bombs that's in the room. So it's definitely up for interpretation what strats you want to go for.
Yeah, I mean, it can also depend on, to be fair, like how the bombs are walking and stuff as well. What is actually safer to do. So yeah, it can definitely be varying a little bit. But it looks like all of the runners at least have quite nice health here. Like, again, as long as you make it past this last cave that Darky's in with these enemies, you are safe until the start of the dungeon. And the start of the dungeon has like 2 free heart refills that you can take if you feel like you need them to get through the dungeon, which, to be honest, usually I will grab both hearts just to be safe. There's a lot of instances where you can take damage, which can really make the rest of the dungeon really bad.
Especially in the first half of the dungeon, there's so much enemy RNG still in that first half that can just result in a death when you thought you had a decent amount of health going into it. There are options to get health throughout the dungeon. It's a fire dungeon, so there's patches of fire all around the floor, and they have an extremely high drop rate on hearts, so you can do it, but again, you can also just get unlucky. But yeah, Darky showing off the Gus Jar strat there. Gets 2 hearts pretty quickly, so it's normally a good trait there for the amount of time it takes to get that health just to make it perfectly safe for the rest of the dungeon. Right, we're going to see other people making their way. Cakeri only electing to just grab one. And
yeah, here we see how annoying this room can be if you don't have bombs. He should make it with this bomb, I think, at least. Yeah, alright.
Nicely done. Inku completely avoids the health, deciding to go through the dungeon on the amount of health that they currently have.
It is always interesting to see like some of the different strats that different runners decide to do, or like the way their decision making is a bit different. Because like in this game, like there's so many of these things that are really like down to like each runner like individually. Like there's no consistent like perfect way that everyone plays. So I guess you can say like the runs they can have a lot of like personality in that way, since you decide so much on your own when playing. This room that Cakeri is in right now and that Seceon just completed is notoriously very annoying with these like Helmosaurs or whatever you want to call them, like just dashing around, and it's very like luck based how they want to decide to move. You see Inku also struggling a little bit, but honestly, none of the runners had that bad of a time. Yeah, I've definitely seen much worse.
Yeah, we are going to see Darky getting their way to the first glitch of the run, angle retention. The main gist of the trick is that we can jump out of the hole diagonally, and it gives Link a diagonal facing value, and we can use that to pull objects diagonally. So we're going to pull this pillar diagonal out of bounds into the void, and we're going to use that to delete the loading trigger to go to the next room, and that's going to let us just go out of bounds. But before that happens, we're going to pull it back into bounds because it has a small key. You're supposed to use this small key to open a locked door to be able to change the minecart path, but we're going to skip going on the minecart at this point and do some blind movement. And if they line this up perfectly, they're going to land on the bridge. This is really tight. I mean, there isn't a very safe setup for it, but if you don't land on the bridge, you soft lock and you have to save and go back to the beginning of the dungeon, and it loses about 2 minutes. And immediately after we do this trick, we go straight into the mini boss fight for this dungeon to get the cane. And that Spiky 2 fight it's pretty tight. It's easy to mess up, but like overall, if you go for the strat, you're most of the time going to have a relatively fast fight anyway.
For those in chat that are like concerned about the like time gains and time losses early on, there will definitely be points later in the run where the time swings can shift really quickly, so nothing is decided yet, far from actually. We'll see what happens.
I would say almost nothing matters before fire element, like unless you get something like a death or you fail the get out of bounds here, and you end up losing a couple minutes. Like other than that, it doesn't really matter too much, because we're going to have Swamp and Fortress, which is a huge skill check in the run. It's so easy to lose minutes there. And then, like, after the hour mark, we're going to have Octoclip as well, and that's going to, again, potentially lose minutes.
This last part of the run, as well as like a point where it's really nice to have health, because there's a lot of like intentional damage we do here by rolling through the traps and also taking a hit there on that trick, which I guess you were probably gonna explain.
Yeah, Darky using the angle retention again in a second room. There's a whole lava section with auto scrollers to get to a boss key to be able to do the second half of the dungeon, and we just skip all of that and save a huge amount of time. It's a real like pace killer when you get to this part of the run where you just have to sit and wait for moving platforms. But now we just head right into Gleerock. Gleerock's another very easy boss fight. There's some precise timing at just to make sure that you can hit the rock on its back. Like it can be a little bit easy to get set on fire, and then the fight can spiral a little bit out of control at that point. But it's just a typical 3-phase boss fight. The boss has a really long duration on its invulnerability frames, which gives us time to. It also only has a hit counter as well, so it doesn't matter if we're doing a full sword slash or if we're stabbing it. A stab normally only does half damage, but because it's a hit counter, we can frame perfectly hit it as soon as its iframes end. I think this split from entering the boss fight to getting the fire element has the closest RTA difference to TAS. Toad's has their gold is 0.3 seconds off of TAS. Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, there's not that much like time loss that can really happen if you're just playing properly, except for at the very end where we actually want Gleerock to ideally be facing downwards where we're ending the fight. And that's just because like the little white transition that happens after you land the last hit to where like Gleerock is exploding and dying. That transition actually is like non-existent for whatever reason if he's facing down. So that's like a small little time save if you just get good luck there with his movement at the end. Yeah, you saw there on Seceon, it was a super fast transition. And I think... Nah, actually, Cakeri is gonna get the side one as well, so...
Yeah,
slight
you'll
time
be able
loss
to
for him.
see here on Cakeri's screen, it's a white, and it's just held there for a full extra second. Alright, Darky is doing Chronal Clip already. They used a bottle there to get bottle invulnerability off of the sign, and now they're going to move this beetle into position, and we're going to be using this beetle to push us into a wall and trigger a jump simultaneously. It's pretty tight. There's a 2-pixel window that they managed to land, and then they do a push and then slash turn, and yeah, they've got this. Excellent. If you mess that up, you lose time in increments of 6 seconds, the amount of time it takes for the beetle to get up and move. Now Darky's just going to be doing some out-of-bounds movement, and they're going to land out of bounds in Western Woods to go and read a sign. Now I'm wondering if anyone's going to go for the super risky strat that is completely blind and luck-based. If you that saves about 3 seconds and is slightly faster movement. I don't think we will because it's races. Except for me, I went for it.
Nice. Yeah, this is definitely one of those tricks where if you mess up a couple of times, it can definitely be like a big time save or time swing. And you see there actually Seceon does mess up a little bit. He will have to retry the trick, which might potentially give Inku a bit of time to catch up here.
Yeah, they do have the right position now, so it's just can they do the timing of the slash correctly, and it looks like they did. Cakeri also gets it first time, leapfrogging ahead of Seceon. Now, their comparison doesn't really matter too much because it is Cakeri versus Darky. That is the one of the matches, and then Seceon versus Inku. We see Inku going for a setup here.
Oh, nice.
It loses 6 seconds, but it's very safe because it gets you the pixel position and you don't land on the wall. But it does mean that the beetle is going to do an extra movement.
Yeah, that's a funny little strat with using Gustar to push you down. I actually first thought of that to try and help with some runners that had trouble with using that position, but I think now it's been refined to a point where it's actually perfectly consistent, whereas mine had some issues with like, you could like get on an unlucky pixel or something and then it would not work.
Yeah, this game has a weird system with its subpixels that basically means we can just walk into walls by 1 pixel, and that's bad for setups that you would want to start from like a normalized position against a wall, because sometimes you can just be off. And yeah, we've got a quest here to go and get a mushroom so that we can go get the boots. Boots are going to be super nice to have. They're much faster than rolling, and they don't rely on having to press the roll button every half second, almost frame perfectly. You just press and hold. Yeah, the whole rupee route that we've been doing up to this point is to have this much, this many rupees, at least 71 rupees at this point in the run, so that we can buy the mushroom and then have at the very minimum 11 rupees. That's going to allow a RNG manipulation in Swamp to select the right drop table. If we had 10 rupees or lower, it would select a different drop table. And we wouldn't be getting the items we wanted when we do the RNG manipulation. Another factor they're going to have to pay attention to is the amount of health they have. They just don't want to be on critical health, which is 1 1/4.
Yeah, when you have beeping hearts, for some reason, like the drop tables, when you kill enemies and things like that, also changes, which would mess with the RNG manipulation that they're going to be attempting in just a little bit here.
Yeah, the Darky just picks up their boots, and from this point on, it's going to be a really, really tough section from now until the end of the next dungeon. And even from that point on, like the run just shifts up a gear at this point. The swamp is going to be... There's going to be a really tough trick here involving the P-Hat. But first, before we go and do that, we do need the bow, so just head to the top left corner of the area, shrink, and go and get the bow. This fight's pretty random, but if you're lucky, you can have all of the enemies clump up together and just sword slash and kill all of them extremely quickly.
See what pattern Darky manages to get here. It's actually quite nice. They all moved over kind of to the same place, so he's able to kill them very quickly and critically as well, not take a lot of damage, as we mentioned. Taking damage there and getting low enough can mess this next part up, so it's very important to stay healthy.
Yeah, we're going to see Darky going for the RNG manipulation here. They are getting green kinstones. We need them for the boomerang later in the run. They are going for a double kinstone into P-Hat strap, and they get it. There's the P-Hat there. They're going to have to pull the P-Hat up onto this platform without killing it. If they use the Gust Jar for too long, the P-Hat will snap to the Gust Jar's mouth, and ooh, that was extremely close. They managed to not kill the P-Hat. And now we just maneuver the P-Hat into the corner of the bridge, and there is an exposed corner that the P-Hat will push us through if it's in a very precise position. So they're going to put it into the right spot. It looks good. Oh, they're wiggling here. Can they get it? No, they're going to put it back into the spot and try again. We have some visual cues to use, and that looks a little bit sketchy, but they do get it, and they go for the boot dash clip. And now they're on layer 2 and can just avoid all of the collision and just go out of bounds to the next dungeon.
So Cakeri actually ended up on quite low health here, but he just barely has enough to still do the manip. If he were 1/4 lower, he actually would be in trouble here unless he used that fairy that he got earlier.
Yeah, we're seeing... I think we're going to see everyone else going for a different manipulation here. They're going to be doing cave triple manipulation, so they get 3 kinstones in the cave. Seceon didn't get the right RNG, so they had to reset. Cakeri does get their third kinstone, and they get another bomb drop. They're going to be going for the P-hat now.
Oh, very nice, yeah.
Meanwhile, Darky is in the next dungeon. They did a save and quit to reset the RNG and are doing another RNG manipulation at this point. They manipulated this Armos into this spot to squish us into the other Armos, and we're able to pull this lever without shrinking, which is really important because we skipped upgrading the sword. We don't have the clones to do the puzzle to be able to do this. And we need this small key to be able to continue on with the dungeon. And they're going to be continuing this RNG manipulation, as well as like manipulating the Armos position. They killed the Armos for a kinstone. That's their third kinstone, but they need a fourth green kinstone, which they're going to get from a Dark Nut later on. Cakeri and Seceon do have done the P-hat clip and are heading into the dungeon now, and Inku gets theirs as well.
Oh, that was a really fast clip. I believe Inku might actually be making up some time here to Seceon, since Seceon had that failed manip as well. So, yeah, the race is getting closer and closer.
Yeah, Darky does get their fourth kinstone as well, so they're pretty solid from this point. They're going to be grabbing a red kinstone in the next section of the dungeon, but that's kind of all the big headaches out of the way, things that can lose a lot of time. But now we're going to see Cakeri and Seceon doing the same thing, and Inku as well. They're just behind.
Some good Armo sandwiches by everyone.
Inku did do a roll in a room with enemy RNG, so it might have messed this up. No, oh yeah, no, it did. They're going to have to reset and go again from the beginning. That is a big time loss. That's about 50 seconds.
Very nice portal item sequence by Darky as well. Seemed like a pretty clean dungeon overall.
Yeah, the portal items is a trick that's kind of super tricky to get your head around at first, but with enough practice you really nail it consistently. We just slide against the portal and use the mitts whilst we're jumping onto it, and then it displaces our position so that we're pretty close to a wall, and we can jump onto layer 2 from that point with the aid of a bomb, and the bomb has to explode at the right timing. And there's about a 5-frame window to hit that, and we just pause at the right time. And yeah, Darky nails that. Cakeri and Seceon are almost synced at this point. Picking up their mitts, they're going to be going and heading there into the Armos clip and to do the portal items as well.
Cakeri is a little bit lower on health, which could be potentially sketchy if he does happen to mess up the Armos clip, so we'll hope that it goes fine.
If they're brave and they're consistent with the all of the movement that they do here, it will be an advantage to be on lower health, because after this boss in the next section we are going to do a death abuse, so the lower health you're on, the better.
That was a super clean skip there by Cakeri. Even got the pause on 1 frame there to jump up to get the bomb boost. And Seceon gets the slow items. ATX Marun is slow. Oh man.
Oh, that
You
animation costs about 10 seconds. Yeah, that is entirely down to rushing the inputs. This trick is surprising how slow you do the inputs for to make it work, and if you just try and rush it too fast, that's when it fails, and it fails in the worst way possible.
He does get up there in the end though, so still a fairly sizable lead, but yeah, this next split as well is one where it's definitely one of the harder splits in the run, I would say. There's a lot of precise stuff here nowadays with this route. There's going to be a bit of death abuse that kind of chains on to the fact that we got lower health on purpose after the boss. A couple of tricks that are going to involve like dying intentionally in order to perform some glitches with the ocarina.
Alright, we're going to see how Inku does on portal items. I don't know if they were too low there. We're going to see if they got the right timing.
Oh,
they
nice.
Perfect. That was much faster than Seceon. So they've managed to close up the gap a bit and make up for the mistake that they made earlier in the dungeon. Yeah, as you were saying with the next section that Darky is on, they're going to be doing a death abuse in Lon Lon Ranch momentarily after this cutscene. They're going to head over to the ranch, and their aim is to die the same frame that they opened the door is frame perfect, and we do have a setup that allows you to buffer the inputs so that it's relatively easy. Which I assume they're going
what he
for.
decides to do here. I think he does your setup, yeah. He does.
And the backup save just in case, because if you mistime your inputs by a frame, you will die and you won't open the door. But they do get it.
Does he get the OG as well? We'll see. And he does get it.
Yeah, and there's the
As long as he doesn't jump too early here, he should be good to go. I mean, no one would ever do such a thing in a race, right?
Yeah, that's surprise. Like it doesn't quite look hard, but it is very tight. Not only is like dying on the door frame perfect, the ocarina glitch is frame perfect. Sure, it's a pretty easy frame perfect in the sense that it's down to after you've done your previous input. It's a frame after that. Inku is really struggling in the Mazao fight. They just had a death, but luckily in this part of the run, everyone has a fairy in a bottle. But the point of that fairy is to use it for the death abuse. So Inku is going to have to slightly adjust their route at this point to go and get another fairy, which we're seeing Darky get. Oh,
he gets.
We don't see them get it. Darky has the worst fairy luck on that tree I've ever seen. They have got it a kinstone multiple times in a row.
That's crazy.
That kinstone drop is a 1 in 16 chance. That's insanely low. That's like a 3%. There's a 15 in 16 chance that it's a fairy instead. That's like, yeah, high 90% chance. It's very rare to see a kinstone drop. There are backups for it, but it's going to lose a small amount of time, on the order of about 10 seconds.
Cakeri also successfully doing the setup to open the door. We'll see if he gets the OG as well. He gets it first try with Modern, very nice. But yeah, that kinstone. Oh yeah, he's also about to do it. Nice, okay.
Yeah, they get it first try.
Really, really nice OGs by everyone so far. Like, that part is difficult for sure. They're making it look easy, but it is one of the scariest parts of the run, to be honest. Even though you do save because it's a race, but yeah, like if you are just one frame off, you can walk into the house and you'll have to reload the save and redo the whole setup. It's a big time loss if you mess that up.
Yeah,
by just one frame.
Inku went to a spot with a guaranteed fairy drop to guarantee that they get it. Darky is going to another tree that is also luck-based, but they did get a fairy this time. If they were so unlucky as to get another kinstone, they can just hop down a cliff here and bonk into another tree for a guaranteed fairy. So it's not the end of the world, but it is shockingly unlikely.
Here we're gonna do a very similar setup again to the death abuse we just did in Lon Lon Ranch to try and open this door in Lake Hylia as well. Which he does get. And this ocarina glitches, of course.
Oh no!
He enters.
Oh,
Wow.
he was too fast with his inputs and he just walked straight into the doorway.
Yes, so that does give Cakeri even more time to catch up now before Temple of Droplets. This can definitely get interesting when we get to Autoclip.
And that's why we're seeing everyone safety save. You do not want that to happen and lose you a huge amount of time. They would have had to have walked away and gone to try and find a backup fairy from a tree, and that would have lost a huge amount of time had they not saved, so they can just retry it instantly. Inku does get their ranch trick done, and I believe Seceon and Cakeri both have fairies. I saw Seceon get a fairy from the tree. Temple of Droplets is going to be the first dungeon that we use the ocarina in, and we are going to break this dungeon completely using... Well, the ocarina glitch is going to let us just skip a small key so we can get the boss key earlier, but the whole reason why we went to get the magic boomerang is we're going to use that to do an out of bounds with the boss door and head directly to the halfway point of the dungeon where the blue chew is, and do the blue chew fight for the lantern. We need the lantern to fight Octo, and then from that point we're going to be doing Octoclip. Octoclip being the hardest trick of the run, and is almost certainly going to cause minutes of time loss for at least someone in this race. It's a frame perfect trick where the frame is about 23 frames after the previous input you do, so it's just muscle memory and trying to nail a frame perfect input.
That trick that Darky just did is another one where if you have some unfortunate movement out of bounds, it is possible to soft lock as well, so it was nice there that he managed to avoid the time save and just do it super clean.
Oh no, Seceon gets the same mistake Darky did, where they were too fast with their ocarina glitch. They have to load their save. That's gonna let Inku catch up a little bit more. Inku's still a decent chunk behind.
Both of the race leaders on each respective side messing that up, just to make things more exciting. We really appreciate it. We love to see a close race. This blue true fight that Darky is in is pretty similar to the one on the first dungeon, only that it's you can't actually damage him when he's got like the electricity around him. Just a couple of like minor luck factors, but nothing too major. And after he beats this boss is when he's going to be coming up on the Autoclip that we've kind of been like hyping up this entire race, because it's again the most annoying trick in the whole run. It is frame perfect, and yeah, messing it up does lose like I don't know how many seconds each time, but if you fail it enough times you also lose the ability to manipulate the boss fight afterwards, which can lose even more time. So it's one of those things where it can really like make or break your run.
Right, Inku does get a clean third try on the Ocarina glitch, saving time over Seceon. Seceon also did struggle with their Ocarina glitch inside the dungeon and walk down the stairs, which does lose a lot of time. Okay, so we're going to see Darky doing the setup. They're moving this pot into position, and they're going to be doing some precise movement with to do a sub-pixel setup. So we know if the trick works when they do a roll against the corner of the pot and they get flung into the bottom right corner against the Octo. That's the second try they attempted. The manipulation can pretty much be performed after a first or second try. A third try is going to be a lot harder to get, more inconsistent, but it's possible. They got it fourth try.
So yeah, unlikely that we're gonna be seeing a manip here.
Yeah. They're gonna have to completely eliminate all of the additional rolls that you do in this early section of the boss fight to try and bring the RNG into check. Oh, are they gonna get Octo in the right spot? No. Yes.
And the whole point of the manip that we would ideally want to do is for the last phase to be super fast. Unlike the third phase of hitting Octo, he can either shoot these rocks like he's doing right now, so you can actually hit him back, or he can do what's known as like an ink attack, where he like puts ink all over the screen and you have to wait around for like 30 seconds or something. So the most likely outcome, I believe, by quite a bit, is to get one ink attack, which loses about 30 seconds. If you're very lucky, you will get 0, and you won't lose any time. And if you are quite unlucky, you would get 2 ink cycles, which can waste like almost a minute. So it's quite brutal if you are unable to manipulate this fight.
Oh, I just saw Cakeri do the roll, and they did it when they did the roll clip. It flung them horizontally, which meant that they got the frame perfect, and they did it. They got it. They got it the next try, but yeah, the horizontal roll was they got the frame perfect input, but the setup they did was incorrect, and they had the wrong subpixels.
Because he got it so quickly, that will most likely give him a chance here to do the manipulation on the fight. We see Darky got 1 ink, so he lost about 30 seconds on the fight, and if Cakeri does this flawlessly, then that is some easy time that could be made up right there.
I didn't see the rock patterns that they got, but they are doing the rolls pretty confidently
I think it should be correct so far, yeah. I'm gonna try and pay attention here on the third phase.
Alright, Seceon is getting set up for their attempt at Octoclip.
So I think that's 8 rolls.
Seceon gets it first try.
Wow. It was 8 rolls, he gets the manip successfully, so that's some more time made up on Darky by Cakeri. He's gonna be about a minute behind at the end of this dungeon. And yeah, getting that first try is super, super big for Seceon. It's like most of our runners have been doing quite well actually in this race, but really it can be like if you're just like 1 frame off a couple of times in a row, it can spiral so quickly and you just lose so much time.
Yeah, I personally feel I either get it first try or like 8th try. It's a pretty brutal trick.
And
Oh,
Inku gets it first try as well.
Wow.
Wow. People are popping off on this trick today. It makes us sound like fools for hyping it up for being this like run-breaking thing when everyone's doing this so easily, but I can assure you this is really difficult, so
yeah, that is
kudos to all the
it's
runners.
really shocking that Darky was the one who struggled the most on this trick.
Seceon through the fight as well. We'll see. Oh, Inku does
gets
the movement wrong. He
I
gets
saw them
sucked
checking
in by
their
Octa.
notes. They were checking the number of rolls they needed to do. They did an extra roll than necessary, and yeah, it distracted them enough to get sucked up by Octo. This middle phase is not completely free. You do need to make sure that you're positioned correctly, otherwise you do get sucked up, and that will just completely kill the RNG manipulation. Yeah, it's pretty much luck here.
Yeah.
What they're going to get. As yeah, it's a roughly 50% chance that you're going to get 1 ink. About a quarter that you're going to get 0 ink, and about a quarter that you get 2 inks.
Man, that's gotta be such a gut punch, knowing you got the octoflip first try and that the manip should be so doable, but then you mess up in such a silly way. That's super unfortunate, but there's definitely still some places where time can be made up, so I wouldn't count any of these races as over.
Yeah, it was only 1 ink, so it's about 30 seconds. In the meantime, everyone has been going and upgrading their sword from the green sword to the red sword and then the blue sword, and that upgrades the number of clones we're able to make, which is needed for this dungeon. Darky making their way through the first room. This is so heavy on the enemy RNG. It's really common for enemies to just get in the way. Before getting into this dungeon, though, you do have to do 2 Ocarina glitches back to back, and yeah, we're going to be seeing people make their way to that section and doing those. Meanwhile, Darky is doing the Wizrobe fight.
It's clean.
Nicely done. Yeah, this is one of the major reasons why you need to be strict with your bomb use earlier on in the run, so you have enough bombs for this section. And importantly, in the final dungeon, we're going to have to use bombs in a couple places, so you want to have leftover bombs to be able to use them for that as well.
So this dungeon is quite difficult casually, but in the speedrun we have quite a lot of skips that you're going to be seeing here on Darky's screen. He's going to be doing the first instance of what's known as a stair clip, where he's just going to be lining up precisely here on a position and just dash and hold right, and it's that easy to get out of bounds in this game.
They're doing a slight difference in the out of bounds movement here, where you go to the very bottom, and this just lines up with the boomerang throw there perfectly.
Oh yeah, that was nice.
The slight risk of that strat is that after the stair clip, the first room you arrive in, there's 2 wall masters, and if they grab you, they will warp you back to the beginning of the dungeon, and that's a huge time loss. They shouldn't. It would be extremely unlikely if it does happen, but it does have the chance of it happening if you do opt to go for that movement. Most people stay at the very top of the room to avoid that from happening.
Nice lineup by Cakeri as well. I did say that it's very easy, and I mean, to be honest it is, but getting the actual lineup itself is pretty much where the difficulty is to do it like fast. Because like, if you're trying to just line up by 1 pixel in this game, sometimes it just feels impossible, to be honest, moving such a small unit.
Yeah, if you are like 1 pixel off and you are so far away that you literally need to do a 1 frame input, a lot of the time when you try and tap for a single frame, you'll end up getting like 2 frames or a 3 frame input. And then when you try and go back to the opposite direction, you're going to do exactly the same. You're just going to be hopping backwards and forwards over the target that you're trying to hit.
Darky actually with a little bit lower health here than most runners would like. We'll see if he decides to get an extra heart here. Now he's just going to go straight in to Georg.
Fairy either.
So this is something that could end up being scary if he gets some unfortunate RNG in the fight. Normally it should be okay, but yeah, in some instances this fight... I mean, maybe he just wanted that gold split that he just got on entering the boss fight. He just wanted to secure it. I can respect that. But this fight, not too much like really bad luck that you can get until pretty much like the 3rd phase, where sometimes you can have like the blue Georgs kind of like flying away when you're trying to hit those eyes in the middle, and it can be really, really annoying. And yeah, the enemies really flying by.
Their spin attack needs to hit twice on the eye riding the blue Georg, and they only hit it once, but then they quickly back up by doing a double sword slash, which was enough to do the damage. And they get the backup cloneless eye pattern so that they can damage the eyes enough. They didn't get enough damage to do the cycle, do that phase in 2 cycles, so they're gonna have to create clones to finish that off. That was very close to being able to getting a perfect backup.
Oof, yeah, the boss is not really working with Darky, but it looks like he will at least get through without dying, which is the main thing when you're a bit lower on hearts, is to just survive, because as we have mentioned, like, House of Winds is probably the most brutal run, or brutal dungeon, I would say, to die in, because like we've said, like, some of these skips, you can't really do them again, like the one with the boss door, since the boss door is already opened. So it definitely changes the way you would have to play the dungeon if you have to make the trip back through.
Yeah, the biggest thing that you're paying attention to in this fight is those energy balls. If you get hit by them, it does a full heart of damage. That's the real killer.
It really is crazy. Like, they just look like some bubbles or something, but before you know it, you're almost like dead from them, and it can rack up really quickly, as we see here.
Yeah, Cakeri getting 2 cloneless cycles in a row. They got really unlucky.
That is really good luck, but he's taking a lot of damage. He needs to be careful.
Do they have a backup heart? They're on a quarter heart. Do they have a backup fairy? Their spin only hits once, they need to do 2 slashes, or they get the spin to kill it.
As long as he survives this, he should be fine. Oh my god, the heart falls off the edge. Okay, he gets through it. That was really scary, like, actually.
They're utilizing all of their health as a resource to save as much time as possible.
Wow. That would have been like pretty much like the decider for the entire race if he had died right there. I don't think there would have been pretty much any way to come back at that point. That was really nice that he got through at least. And to everyone's big surprise, he does end up picking up the heart container. Some people do actually skip it when they have like good health, since obviously it's like a small time loss getting the heart container, and we're going into the last dungeon. Definitely something you want to get though with health that low.
Yeah, the final wave of the boss fight has the green guys, and they drop hearts. So yeah, you can just get lucky and go to full health. And if you're confident in the final dungeon, it's, I wouldn't say easy, but it's very doable to do with taking almost no damage whatsoever. So you kind of don't care about your health. We do have one fight before the final dungeon. There's this Moblin fight and a long cutscene that plays. We would like to avoid this as much as possible, but it's just a weird quirk of how the game sets the flags. The moment that we get the red sword, this trigger appears in North Hyrule Field. So anytime we want to go to the castle after that point, we're going to encounter this. It would be skippable if we were able to avoid doing any sword upgrades until the very end of the run, and we go and upgrade all our swords at the same time and then go into the final dungeon. But this dungeon, Palace of Winds, does require us using the blue sword at the very beginning.
Darky's about to head into the last dungeon of the game, which is Dark Hyrule Castle. It's got a lot of tricks in it, so it's definitely a place where you can lose a lot of time. If you happen to mess up like ocarina glitches, for example. He's going to be starting it off by doing a trick called cutscene walking in a couple of rooms here, where you basically just walk into an S-slow trigger while hitting the stoned people with like a spin attack, and it's gonna let you like walk while they are sort of like unfreezing, which saves a little bit of time.
Inku takes a death in the boss fight, but they did have a backup fairy, and they're making their way onto the fourth cycle now. So it is right at the end of the boss fight. They're unlikely to die from this point.
See if Darky manages to land a setup for the stair clip. He does bonk, so he's gonna have to retry. He does get it second try, luckily. Yeah, that stair clip is a bit trickier than the one in Palace of Winds, mostly just because of that Moblin enemy there. He can be super, super annoying if he's like walking right and trying to hit Link with the spear, and it's very annoying to deal with, and can sometimes mess up your sub-pixels, which you need to have good sub-pixels for the stair clip itself to work.
Yeah, Darky going for the cannon room here. Did they get the slash at the right time? No. They're gonna have to go for the backup clone strat. Oh no.
Oh,
Seceon's controller's disconnected and they're losing time.
nice little Nintendo Switch moment. That's the Switch tax, I like to call it.
Yeah, Darky getting Moblin RNG'd in this room. Both of them just went and just completely blocked the path. There was nowhere they could go.
That was super unfortunate, yeah. Cakeri also having some trouble with the setup, but he does get it eventually. Now we're on to the section with Ocarina glitches of Dark Hyrule Castle, where I believe there's like 3 of them we're gonna do in pretty short succession, and yeah, again, it is a frame perfect trick, so anytime you mess it up, depending on the way you do it, you'll either like play the ocarina an extra time, or you'll walk down the stairs and have to walk back up. Either way, it's quite costly if you do miss it a couple of times. Cakeri does get the cannonless strat successfully though, so that is some nice time made up for him.
Yeah, not all Ocarina glitches are equal. It does just feel different when you're doing it against the staircase than if we were doing it earlier in the run against the the open doors in Lon Lon and Lake. But there's also different strategies for doing them. We see most people doing what's called modern, where you do like a diagonal slide against it, and then you time the ocarina play the same frame as you switch direction, and that is a safety strat to avoid walking down the stairs or walking into the transition. You can just straight up stand in front of the doorway and then just press up and then ocarina the frame after. That's called the classique, and the risk of that is if you press ocarina a frame late, you walk into the trigger, you go down the stairs.
And Darky completes the final ocarina glitch of the run, no problems.
This doesn't look... I wasn't paying attention to the pattern, but there is an RNG manipulation through this section of Dark Hyrule Castle.
Well, he definitely wasn't manipulating there.
Yeah. RNG does advance every time we roll and do sword slashes, so if you see someone mashing the sword, they're clearly not manipulating the RNG at that point. Or they're just that fast at counting.
Maybe. I'm actually not sure how many runners do go for that minute. I know I myself, I don't even know how it works, so I do not go for it.
There's a... we go through a Gibdo room and we look at the pattern of like the directions they're moving, because there's 3 of them, and that's like a unique indicator to tell us what RNG we're on. And we got like a lookup sheet for how many RNG ahead or behind we are, and we just cut or increase the amount of rolls, and then it just makes the ball and chain soldiers clump up and be a quick kill, and then we just do the same movement through the rest of the dungeon, and then it manips the Dark Nut here, the red Dark Nut, to do the same action every time.
It's like Darky did get a nice favorable pattern at least, and he's gonna be going for this kind of new-ish left side strat here. Hey, he gets hit by the fire.
Yeah, this is the big risk with coming over on this side. If you mess up the bow strat, you're going to use more arrows, and that can factor into the Vati 2 fight later on, but also they need to be getting diagonal angle retention off this fire, and I don't think they got it. No, they knew that they didn't have it, and they're just going to just go through the normal way, dropping down. This is a few seconds slower.
At least they did not get grabbed by one of the hands in that room, because that is quite a big time loss if that happens as well. Cakeri unfortunately messing up the stun lock on the Black Dark Knight as well, but he does get a nice dash pattern to back it up.
Seceon did struggle a little bit with the Ocarina glitch. They ended up going down the stairs. Giving Inku some time to catch up. Inku's going to be doing the bomb room now.
He gets this, he's the real winner in my eyes. Oh, he does get it. Very nice.
So from this point on for Darky, we're going to be seeing them do the Vati manipulation. RNG is going to be manipulated for this point for all of the enemy movements. They're going to do... This looks like the Vlak group of manipulations. There's several that have this kind of pattern at the start.
So while Darky has had a history in this game of being really solid in the early game, the Vati manip is sometimes where he tends to mess up a bit more. He is going for the Vlak version by the looks of it, so we'll see if he manages to land it in this run at least.
This is the retro one, because there's a heart that drops at the beginning of the room, and an adjustment was made, an alteration, to make the Darknet die at the top of the room, so that you can get that heart for free, but...
Oh, I didn't actually know that.
It's not necessary to get that heart, and you leave on the same value anyway, so it was just a minor optimization.
I should look that up. I've always done the bottom side myself. We'll see if he manages to keep the manipulation through this Vati fight. It is a really, really nice time save if you do, and it also just negates any form of luck on these first two phases, which can lose a lot of time if you don't have luck by your side.
Yeah, the minimum number of teleports we're able to reduce in this fight is down to 1. And yeah, if the RNG gets out of control, then you just can't control the number of teleports, and every teleport loses a lot of time.
Ooh, yeah.
That doesn't look correct.
Yeah, he rolled into Vati there, which probably messed up the way he wanted to approach the ending there, so from now on it's going to be random, and looks like he didn't quite get all the hits in here, so he's going to have a bit of an extra cycle here.
Yeah, Cakeri has a... Oh no, Cakeri doesn't time their jump in the Darknet fight, and they're just going to reset and try to do the setup again from the beginning. Yeah, I believe I saw Darky in the 4th section. They hit... they one of their sword slashes bombed off of Vati.
So Vati 2 without manip is quite random, but you should still be able to go for what's known as the free cycle here, where you basically just like spin attack the ice on phase 2 and 3, and it lets you kill him in only 3 cycles instead of the regular 4 that you would have to do if you're just like spamming the sword. But this last phase here especially is the most erratic one. He did get good luck though with Vati stopping, and none of the portals were covered as well, so this could be a really fast phase. Oh my god, how did he not lose his clones? I think someone is scripting.
Yeah, that's it's extremely hard to get a perfect Vati 2 fight when it's completely unmanipped, and really just getting something that doesn't lose huge amounts of time.
Cakeri actually showing off the thing you talked about there.
Yeah, there you go. That's the more modern Vlak manipulation.
I don't know if that slash at the end is something you're supposed to do though.
Yes, it is.
It
because
is?
you
Okay.
normally roll in the old version from the bottom, and we're just...
Oh, right.
Slash.
Yes, okay, that makes sense.
Seceon's doing a slightly different one. They're doing Navilin's setup, which has very similar RNG values going into the Darknet fight, but does the Darknet fight slightly differently. And then Vati's RNG now is going to be slightly different, but it is a different manipulation from this point.
I think it's worth reminding that despite the fact that Cakeri and Seceon look really close, it does not matter because they are not actually racing each other. It's Seceon against Inku on one side, and then Cakeri against Darky is a different race. So it seems most likely that Seceon and Darky are going to be taking their respective races, barring anything really massive, like a really big death or something from either side.
Inku just perfectly executed the Dark Coral Castle manipulation with the Chain Soldier in the Dark Knight fight and got the ankle retention perfectly.
That is really sick. That is not easy to
Unfortunately,
do.
they are too far behind at this part, barring a death from Seceon to be able to catch up.
No one's ever died to Vadi before.
Cakeri had one arrow left. If they, they need to nail Vati 2 here, and they do.
Seceon should still be on the manip here. We'll see what happens here in the last phase. Does look like he should get a pretty fast ending, though.
Yeah, both Cakeri and Seceon look like they've had extremely clean Vati fights up to this point.
That was really nice manip by Seceon.
They looked perfect.
And we've kind of been neglecting here Darky on the last Vadi fight because he's quite far ahead, but he is approaching the end of the run here. I'm not sure exactly what hit this is. Oh, it's the last hit. Well,
yeah,
there we go. GG's to Darky.
Yeah, Inku unfortunately mistimed on the death slashes on the Dark Knight and lost the manipulation here.
Does get a nice kinstun though. I hope it's a GP. The most important one. A 130 from Darky is a very solid race time. I will take the time to flex that it's not quite the race time record, because I think I have that by like a bit, like 20 seconds faster maybe.
Oh,
but,
okay. I was wondering if it was your PB during the race.
Yeah, it is my PB.
It is your PB.
That was done in a race. So that was really close. Yeah, really solid run by Darky overall.
But Cakeri, this run is going to be, assuming they don't die in Vati 3 right now, is going to be a PB for them.
Yeah, so what's interesting about Cakeri is that I don't believe he's completed any PBs with this new route. And as we mentioned, he had a top run a couple of years ago when the route was changing a little bit, and that's still his PB. He's got one of the oldest PBs out of anyone in the tournament, so yeah, this can definitely be a very nice improvement. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I think it's like a 136 something maybe.
Yeah, it's in the high 136s, so this is a pretty huge PB. Yeah, it's a 136.16 is their current PB. Yeah, so they're on pace to beat this by like 3 minutes.
And it looks like Seceon does finish as well with a solid 133. GG's to him taking the race.
That's really saying something because Seceon went into Vati 3
Hey,
a decent amount behind. Welcome in.
We have a lot of
Yo.
gamers joining us at the same time. Welcome
Hello.
everyone. Congrats on the new PB Cakeri.
oh, yeah.
Thank you. It was a 3-minute PB, I think.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Very nice.
3 minutes
So-
for a 3 years old.
Everyone had, like, apart from Darky, everyone had really solid auto clips in this run, so I'm not too surprised that we saw such good times in the end. I think, like, Cakeri got it, like, second try or something,
Yeah, second
and
try.
Seceon and Inku both got first try on auto clip, which was really cool to see.
You cheaters.
What was really notable, Cakeri, for you is that you got yours frame perfect on the first try. Your position setup was incorrect, and your subpixels were bad. But it would
Really?
have worked if the subpixels were right. Yeah.
Should I
That's
have
what
waited
that
a little bit?
Yeah, it might have been the Gus jar. Or it can be really tricky to try and nail down exactly which part of the setup was like introducing the bad subpixels. But yeah, when you get that horizontal roll sideways, that doesn't happen for like with the correct subpixel value. That only happens when you nail it, get the frame perfect input with the incorrect subpixel value.
Okay, gotta take that to the lab.
So talking, I guess, about the races, Seceon and Darky are the two race winners of today. I guess we can kind of take this time while Inku's finishing up to kind of talk about the runs. Do you have any particular comments about your performance today, Darky?
Well, Octoclip kinda sucks, but apart from that, and yeah, the endgame was kind of sloppy too. But other than that, I'm pretty happy about it. I was kinda hoping for getting sub 130, but yeah, that's still pretty good, 130.50.
So to me, it was like a very like kind of like a classic run by you in a way, because you had like a really solid early game. You had a really solid lead on pretty much everyone there, a super fast grip ring time and everything, and then like yeah, it's that octo clip and I guess the Vadi manip as well that kind of made for some unfortunate time losses, but yeah, other than that, super solid stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
You had
How
one of
about-
your iconic early game like incredible paces. Your
Yeah.
fire element time was something people dream of having.
I
let alone
didn't
in
even
a
get
race.
sub 135, sub 35.30, so
Damn, true. But it was like a 24-17, I think, on grip ring, which is like, you know, only Switch
it's
cheaters
because
can
of
get
the
that.
Switch, yeah.
Yeah.
Switch kinda helps.
And Seceon as well, what are your comments on your awesome race victory today?
I don't know why Lake House OG sucks so much in comparison to like London Ranch. They are basically the same, but somehow I fail the Lake one always. So I don't know.
Yeah, the geometry on the doors is different.
Yeah, I would say that
Yeah.
was like, oh yeah, that and my portal item on Fortress were the like two biggest mistakes. I think I lost like 2 minutes in between those two. The rest of the round was pretty solid, I would say. I also golded like everything on the like final boss. I golded
Oh yeah, I
Castle,
see that
Big
now.
Key, Dark Nuts, Body 2, and Body 3.
It's really nice.
Yeah, you had a really, really solid run towards the end. Inku was keeping it close, and with some of the mistakes you made, it wasn't like a complete outright victory for you until Dark Horror Castle. Inku made a lot of mistakes, but you managed to perform really well. We're normally thinking that these races are kind of be decided after Octoclip, but if everyone's going to be getting Octoclip nearly perfectly, then yeah, it's going to come down to Dark Horror Castle and especially Vati. Yeah, GG's to Inku. I'm gonna see if they want to join in for the interview as well.
Oh, and I also want to ask Cakeri as well. How would you? Do you have any particular comments about your run as well? I mean, it was a PB, but definitely a lot that happened.
I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but I went for every safety option you could, like all the heals, everything. I was really scared at like that swamp because I had like the perfect amount of health.
Oh
But
yeah,
it did work out.
The scariest part for me, at least on watching, was definitely without a doubt the Georg fight where he finished with like a quarter of a heart.
Yeah, I did have a fairy though, so.
Oh, okay. Well, then I was scared for nothing, I guess.
Yeah, that's like I think I took every safety fairy, like most of the classic safety hearts in pots, and yeah, but the tricks went all right. Like I got pretty much all of them first try, but since coming back and derusting, I've spent like time just practicing the tricks instead of like the in-between stuff. So it's definitely a lot shaky there. Like menus and just good movement is something I gotta work on.
And I would assume also like making the switch to playing on the Switch version might also play some part in that being a bit tricky.
Yeah, I'm not fully comfortable with the Switch controller yet, like the Pro controller.
Hey, you still got a big PB, so it's a good sign for whichever race you do end up. I'm not exactly sure who you will be facing next, but
have the brackets up, so with Darky's win, they are going to be advancing into the top 8 to be playing against Martin. How are you feeling about that matchup?
Well, that's pretty cool.
So, yeah, Cakeri, you're going to be playing against Command in your next match.
Nice. It'll be fun.
And for Seceon and Inku, your matchup is going to be, depending on the next match, Semi and Drak. Seceon will be playing the winner of that match, and Inku will be playing the loser.
Yeah, sounds cool. Inku, it's on waiting room, by the way.
They can get dragged in. Can I drag them in? I can drag them in. Hello, welcome in.
Hey, hello.
Hey.
Your
Jeez.
sound is very much down. I think I have my sound at a very low level. Okay. GG's everyone. Thanks.
GG.
GG.
GG's.
It was like quite a while since I did a full run, so excuse my latency.
Right.
Yes.
You did get Opticlip first try.
Yeah, that was like incredible. That was the thing in the last 2 days that I trained the most. Like metronome training all the way, very focused, everything, you know. got a lock in for Octoclip.
Yeah, it was really sick actually, because most people did actually really solidly on Octoclip. Like you got first try, Seceon got first try.
Oh,
we all
really?
got second try. So yeah, you guys did really, really good.
Oh my god, let's go,
kinda like-
Seceon.
Yeah. I'm
But by
nervous
the way,
for my own
Seceon,
race.
isn't it a PB that you did?
No,
Cakeri got a PB.
Cakeri?
Yeah.
Oh,
Cakeri
yeah, right.
PB'd by,
Okay.
like, 3 minutes.
Yeah, for
Could've been
real.
4.
That was like a hell of an improvement. Like a bit of grinding and you bought me, right?
It was a super old PB though.
Oh, no.
So
Yeah, true.
Yeah, that Cakeri, that moves you up into what time was it?
I got it to
33, 28, I think.
So that puts you in 14th place. You jumped up from 21st.
Oh my god.
That's a big jump.
What a jump.
Now the
Yeah.
seating is completely screwed up.
Yep.
hooray!
It's rigged.
Oh yeah. Also, I don't know what happened with my controller, but that made me lose
yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
a good like 10 to 15 seconds. I don't know. It was weird.
Yeah,
When
I
was
call
that?
it.
That was in.
It was during the
just before
cutscene, right?
Yeah.
So at
Yeah.
least it wasn't during like a trick or a boss fight. Like it could have been worse, but you know that's
Yeah.
the price you pay for getting free time save on the Switch version.
Yeah, exactly.
The punishment.
Yeah, it's just compensating for the frame rate.
By the way, did anyone see my RNG at Georg? It
No.
was insane.
Everyone has had a
Oh, yeah.
Talk RNG. It was
So many cloneless patterns.
Yeah, I got 3 cloneless in a row,
Ooh,
more or less.
That's
Wow.
nice. Are you perhaps doing a fire rod or something?
I don't know. We might have to check the disc or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The game
Like a
wanted you to have a Smith's sword.
Well,
Oh yes, Inku. Before you popped it in, we were just talking about matchups. You are going to be wanting to look out for Seceon versus Drak, and I can't
Ooh.
remember
Semi
what
against
time that
Drak.
is. Sorry, Semi versus Drak. Seceon
Because
will be playing the winner. of that
Drakius
match.
is gonna be like my next opponent in losers bracket or something,
If
or
you
maybe
want
my
to assume they're going
round
to
2
win,
losers.
It's you're playing the loser of that match.
Mm.
That is going to be tomorrow.
Okay.
that's gonna be kind of. I'm very curious about Drakius for that one because I mentioned that Cakeri has one of like the oldest PBs out of anyone in this tournament, but Drakius's PB on Speedrun.com is actually like way before Piat Clip was even found. It's from 2019.
Yeah, it was a
Oh
Oh my god.
Yeah,
So there's
they had
been a lot of
3 years.
reroutes and a lot of time saves since then.
Imagine collecting kinstones.
Yeah, that match is going to be the Arizona Derby. They are both Arizona
Ooh, okay.
residents.
That's interesting. Arizona.
But yeah, tomorrow is going to be a pretty stacked day for the first round of the tournament. We have 3 matches.
3 matches, all
Yeah,
at the same time, or
Not all
spread
at
out.
the same time. They're pretty spread out.
Okay.
The first match we're going to have is going to be Nimbus versus Toadswoot. This is
Ooh.
top seed versus bottom seed.
Oh my god,
The match that is most likely to be a blowout.
that is cruel.
We have the world record holder versus Nimbus has been in here and is resigned to their fate, but you never know with races.
I think Nimbus has a chance because of Toads resetting out of habit.
Maybe
That will be at 7 p.m. European time, 6 p.m. UK, 2 p.m. Eastern. Then 2 hours after that, the start of that race, we're going to have Fire Turtle versus Kato. That is the middle seed. They are the people that are seeded next to each other. It's seed 7 versus seed 8. So theoretically, that is going to be the closest match. Of
that should
the
be a
first
good
round.
one. Their PBs are 7 seconds apart, actually.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Hopefully Kato has been actually practicing any percent and not just doing randomizer. Been doing that a lot recently.
I mean
I
that
think
helps
he has,
at least.
he has been doing a lot of rando.
Yeah.
And then quick maths in my head. 5 hours after the start of that, we're going to have Semi versus Drag. So that in the middle of the night for European folks, and yeah, probably see the result of that on Sunday morning. And then we're going to have the final match of round 1. Nitros is going to be playing against Cal on Sunday.
Okay.
And that will be all of the round 1 matches done, and then we'll be moving on to round 2 next week.
Ooh, that's interesting. I can't wait to see how Carl has trained, because he has been on the rise.
Exciting races ahead.
How are you feeling about that match?
Me? I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, you never know what can happen, right? Autoclip is such a volatile trick, so that's definitely the thing I'm most scared of, but...
Yeah.
So far I've done only a couple of D-Rust runs, and I mean, they've been going pretty alright despite some mixed results on that clip and some other splits, so, I mean... I want to feel confident at least, but you never know what can happen in this any percent route, so we'll see what happens on Sunday.
All right then. I think that's a good moment for me to jump in and thank everybody for their participation. Big shout outs to our 4 racers. Congratulations to Darky. And also to Cakeri. And a big shout out to our volunteers, so to Myth and to Nitros. I hope you all enjoyed the first restream of the tournament on ZSR. There's more to come, for sure. Depending on the volunteer loadout, you all know how it goes. But yeah, that's it for now. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a good evening, good day, and see you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.